What's going on, all you minties? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for an advanced look at all these trades from Marvel Comics coming out this week, so stay tuned. Before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of all these trades. These trades are all due out in the direct market and book market on December 7th. So we've got a couple of Star Wars books here, a Beta Ray Bill book, which is one of my favorite characters, the ending of Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk, an X-Men book. We'll talk about where that all fits in and what exactly it is, and then one of the graphic novels, as well as what I like to call a complete collection / not really labeled a complete collection type of book. So, again, I always put timestamps in the description of the video, and make sure if you don't want to know anything about a specific book, if you just want to be completely surprised going into it, then by all means jump around, especially something like Immortal Hulk Volume 10, where I have to show off some of the artwork, and we are talking about the last story arc of the book. So let's go ahead and jump in. Kicking off the week of trade paperbacks from Marvel Comics is this graphic novel format, REPTIL. Now, it's called the GN format, I believe that's how it's labeled. This is Brink of Extinction. And this is the only way that this particular story is collected in collected editions. And the GN format's a little smaller, as you can tell here, compared to the size of an Epic format. So the trim size is smaller. Of course, it's also cheaper. The book is $13.99. So this collects REPTIL 1 through 4, and that's the newer series, as well as his very first comic book appearance, and that is in the Avengers Initiative featuring REPTIL. The story here is written by Terry Blas and drawn by Enid Balam. And then you have the inks of Victor Osalaba. So, really quickly, you are caught up with exactly who REPTIL is in the Marvel Universe, in the 616 universe. Because the character, much like the character of Harley Quinn, made his first appearance in a cartoon. It was the Marvel, I think it was called Superhero Squad. All I remember was the song. My kids used to watch it, and the song was something about hero up. It's time to hero up. I think that's where it came from. But anyway, that's where he made his first appearance. And then they brought him over into the 616 universe as part of that Avengers Initiative / Avengers Academy era by Dan Slott and Christos Gage. And if you have watched my channel for a while, you know how much I love that era. Those are some of my most wanted omnibus editions because they're just wonderful stories. There's a whole twist to why these kids were chosen to be part of the Avengers Initiative, to kind of work as a young Avengers team, but for the government. And this, of course, all happening after the Civil War storyline, so the government wanted to take more control over superhero characters. So since then, you know, he was in a couple of other miniseries. He's shown up here and there through the Marvel Universe, since both series unfortunately are not around anymore. And as a matter of fact, Norman Osborn trying to manipulate him and try to get his powers. So his powers come from this amulet that he found during one of his parents' expedition, because both of them were archaeologists. And the power gives him the ability to transform into any dinosaur. And actually, during the Avengers Initiative, he inherited this Pym particles that make him big as any dinosaur could be. So that's pretty much the story of Humberto Lopez. This is Humberto Lopez. He lives with his grandfather, and it's all up here at the very beginning. His grandfather's feeling sick, so they're going back home to be with other family, his auntie, and his parents have gone missing. Now, his parents have been missing for a long time, ever since the second expedition that they went on. But we meet this character here that shows up, and he wants the amulet back. But he also has a secret. He tells Humberto that he knows where his parents are. And this takes him and his cousins on a journey across time and space. And that's pretty much the premise of this volume. And then all the way in the back, you get his very first appearance in comic book format. The book has 136 pages, and this is the one-shot of Avengers The Initiative. And just looking at this makes me miss that era. I don't think there's anything extra in the back. There weren't any variants. Yeah, it's just pretty much the one-shot. Next up is Star Wars The High Republic Volume 2, The Heart of DRENGIR. And this is set during the High Republic era of Star Wars. It's this brand new era that they have a novel series, they have a manga series, they have something called Star Wars The High Republic Adventures. And it's pretty interesting because Marvel is publishing the comic book, but I believe it's IDW that's publishing the Star Wars High Republic Adventure. And then, of course, there's the novel series. And the manga is co-published by Viz, I want to say. And I think Maddie told me that there's a animated series in the works. So I believe, let me see here. Oh, this is all written by Cavan Scott, and it's nice to see Georges Genti come back and draw some comics again. So this is when pretty much the timeline takes place. So you have the High Republic, then you have Fall of the Jedi. And Fall of the Jedi, of course, is the original trilogy. No, I'm sorry. Please don't crucify me. The first three movies, and then Reign of the Empire, and then Age of the Rebellion, which is where the original three movies are. And then you have The New Republic and Rise of the First Order. So this is when Force Awakens takes place. So that kind of gives you what is known as the new canon timeline. So it was interesting reading the very first volume because I really liked it. It takes place, like I said, long before Star Wars A New Hope. So galaxies are at peace and something is coming. Something that is making alliances form. Alliances that you probably wouldn't see normally, such as these characters here. So pretty much this takes place a few months after the very first trade paperback ended. And the frontier is just a lot different than when we first started. So we have the characters come back of Keeve Trennis, who's the Padawan, and she was training to be a Jedi, and she is now reconnecting with her master here. And she's going to have to use her powers, her Jedi powers, to kind of try to bring him back out of this comatose state. Meanwhile, like I said, all of the Jedi have formed an alliance. You have the character of Avar Kriss alongside with Miarga, who, like I said, I like that. I like that aspect of things, that you have this unusual alliance happening because you have this horrible thing that is coming to destroy you. Now, what I will say about this particular volume, Volume 1 I had no problem reading. I was like, okay, I'm not reading any of the novels, any of the manga, and I'm still able to follow this. This one here, I was, for like the first 3 issues, I was completely okay. And then about, I think it was in issue 9, they threw in some characters that I think the way this was written, I was supposed to know or be shocked by who they were. So I was a little bit confused, I'm not going to lie. It's still a good read, and it kind of makes me jealous of all the people that are reading everything about the High Republic, whether it's the novels or whether it's the manga or the adventures, because it's all connected. So that is one thing that if you're just reading this, you might get a little lost. Or maybe it was just me. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Georges Genti is back drawing, and I'm familiar with his artwork. He did a lot of work for Marvel, but what I'm really familiar with was his run on Buffy. I believe it was season 8. So I really like his style. He did the Return to Weapon X storyline, and it's nice to see him draw Star Wars characters. So this book right here retails for $15.99. It has 120 pages. The extras, like the variant covers, are found on the opposite side of the standard edition covers. So for example, this is the cover to issue number 7, and this is the variant to issue number 6. I love that Peach Momoko is just becoming one of my favorite cover artists. As far as the extras in the back, I'm going to skip some because they are, I think, spoilers, but here is the extras, the variants they couldn't fit in between the chapters. And then, of course, where else you can catch the High Republic and other Star Wars books. And speaking of other Star Wars books, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about now. It's War of the Bounty Hunters. This is the companion. I mentioned when I was doing my upcoming collected editions for the month of December that might get confusing with all the different titles because they all have the brand War of the Bounty Hunters. Like so. Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, Dr. Aphra. Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, Darth Vader. But it's all one big story. So to put it in X-Men terms, think X-Men Mutant Massacre, and less X-Men Executioner Song, where you have to read part 1 here, go to part 2. It's just, they're all interconnected. And it's interesting the way that they're collecting them, because I was already thinking, how are they going to do this if they do an oversized hardcover format? if they decide to do an omnibus format of the story. Because, for example, we kick the story off here with War of the Bounty Hunters, Jabba the Hutt. So this takes place during issue 1 of War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha. By the way, I forgot to mention that these are the credits here. You have 4 different stories: Jabba the Hutt, Forlom and Zuckuss, Broche, and IG-88, which is the crazy android. I love that dude. But yeah, so for example, this takes place during the first issue. So even if they decide to do an omnibus, I'm sure they're going to keep this all the way in the back, because there's no way to put this in between the first Alpha issue. And if you're not familiar with what War of the Bounty Hunters is, it's pretty much the story in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and focusing on Boba Fett trying to deliver Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. And he loses the body. Who has the body and all that? That can be found in the main story arc of War of the Bounty Hunters. Everything else is just all the bounty hunters going up against each other, or trying to find Han Solo, or trying to kill Boba Fett, or trying to betray each other. It's a really fun storyline. I love this. I thought this was a cool idea. And it leads into the next story arc, which I think it's called Crimson Dawn. And even the what was the book here? The Bosch storyline in here. It says to be continued in Dr. Aphra Crimson Dawn. So the first story arc, of course, is about Jabba the Hutt, and he feels like he's not being respected because the body is not coming to him like he had already paid. So he has his own bounty hunter, Devalon Pop, this lady right there. And then the next story arc, really like the artwork in this, is about these 2 bounty hunters and why are they fighting. And this is the story of Forlom and Zuckuss, and they're being torn apart. And then this is the story right here I was talking about, the bounty hunter known as Bosch. And I don't even know if this is a spoiler, but for anybody that hasn't seen Return of the Jedi, just in case, maybe spoiler, but this is the character that Princess Leia pretended to be. So this is the actual story. This one here is kind of interesting to read because it feels like it happens before War of the Bounty Hunters kicks off. And the last one here is my favorite, and this is the story of IG-88. Now, you may be asking yourself, if you're reading all the Star Wars book, wait a minute, I thought this guy got torn apart. How is he back? Well, you can find out in this particular issue right here, this one shot, that, again, has ties to War of the Bounty Hunters, but it could be read as a standalone issue. The book has 136 pages, retails for $19.99. As far as the extras, this is how most of the extras are collected, the variants. They're all thumbnail size variants. And then you have a handbook variant right there of IG-88, and then other Star Wars books. In case you don't want to know anything about Immortal Hulk, I am going to show some pages, not very many, of the internal artwork here. And I'm not really going to talk about the story because I think that would spoil too much. But just in case, again, timestamps are in the description of the video if you want to jump around. Alright, for anybody else, this is Immortal Hulk, Volume 10 of Hell and of Death. And this wraps up Al Ewing's masterful series, The Immortal Hulk. This is it. This collects issues 46 through 50. And let's go ahead and open it up. I'm gonna show just a little bit of some of the artwork that's in here. And the artwork is provided by Joe Bennett and inks by Rui Jose and Belardino Bravo. And of course the colors by the legendary Paul Mounts. So this is the type of artwork you're going to find in here. I'm going to show a couple more pages. The storyline, this is not the place to start Immortal Hulk. I strongly suggest starting with issue number 1, or rather volume number 1 of the trade paperbacks, or the oversized hardcover that just got a reprint. Well, actually, no, it's been a few months now. I hope it's still in print. But you are going to see a fight between the Immortal Hulk and the Avengers, which he's been a part of since issue 1. And there's a big reason why he is fighting the Avengers. And whether all of this is taking place inside of the Hulk's head, or whether it's taking place actually here in the 616 universe, well, you can find out for yourself. As far as the ending and my thoughts, I thought it wrapped up perfect. I thought it was the only way that you could end a story like this. What I found interesting, though, was the way that issue 49 was done. And again, I'm just going to show off what the artwork looks like in issue 49 and how the story is done. There's no dialogue bubbles, no word bubbles or thought bubbles, just narration told like this about what exactly is going on. I like that. It reminds me of the ending of something like Gunbuster, going with anime here, and of course, Evangelion in a way. Censoring the final page to issue 49, but to show off the artwork to the covers of Immortal Hulk issue 50. So here's one of the covers, and then you have, of course, Alex Ross, who has been supplying the covers since the very first issue. And that's really all I'm going to show. That's it. Now, of course, the question that I always get asked, is this going to be an omnibus one day? And honestly, I don't know. Maybe when they finish out the oversized hardcovers, they'll announce an omnibus. Going to be looking at some of the variant covers all the way here in the back. But the way that they've been doing things lately, like when Donny Cates wrapped up his run on Venom, you know, he got a Ven omnibus. It's coming out next year. Or Jason Aaron wrapping up his run on Thor. His first omnibus comes out next year on Thor. So, I mean, odds are they probably will one day. I just don't know when. And that's an honest answer. That's not Uncanny Omar hiding any secrets or anything. The book retails for $24.99, and it has 184 pages. And it's that time of the video to check out all the spines from all the books coming out this week. And also to remind you to smash that like button. It's something very small that you can do, but it means the world to us. And check us out on Spreadshop and Patreon. Great ways to support the channel if you can do so. Alright, let's get back to the overviews. Alright, let's get to my pick of the week. And that is Beta Ray Bill, Argent Star, by Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. And, oh my gosh. Beta Ray Bill is one of my favorite characters. I mean, just because he was such a unique character for Thor to have in his comics. Created by Walter Simonson during his phenomenal run. You know, and yes, we got Throg through that phenomenal run too. It's just, he was so badass. He had Stormbreaker. Yeah, he had a horse face. He was different. We have an introduction here by Donny Cates, and right off the bat, we get 4 variant covers in thumbnail size on the opposite side of the standard edition cover to issue number 1. So, I was excited to read this, and I had just finished reading, or I'm actually halfway, I hope I get to finish it this year, Dead Earth, Wonder Woman Dead Earth, and I'm loving it. So I was excited to come here. Now, Donny Cates wrote that introduction because him and Daniel Warren Johnson had worked together on a comic book called The Ghost Fleet. I believe it was published by Dark Horse. If not, it went over to Image. But anyway, they had worked together, and he wanted to write an introduction. And it's also important that he writes the introduction because all of this takes place after and during the events of Donny Cates' run on Thor. So something happened in Thor that affects this particular story and why we have Beta Ray Bill going on a mission. So if you haven't read that, maybe skip this. I don't know. I mean, if you don't care, if you just want to take a look at the artwork, put me on mute, whatever it is. But I did want to warn you ahead of time. If you haven't read Thor and what happened to Beta Ray Bill during Donny Cates' Thor run, then maybe skip this one or wait till read the first volume of that. If not, or if you don't care about spoilers, let's keep going. So pretty much in the issues of Thor, what happens is that Beta Ray Bill and Thor get into a fight. And Stormbreaker ends up getting destroyed. Thor, because he's now, well, I won't spoil this, but he's got a different role in Asgard now. Just becomes really jaded and a different type of character that he gets into a fight with Beta Ray Bill. And Stormbreaker is destroyed. So this is the journey of Beta Ray Bill trying to find the Allfather, Odin. Trying to go on a journey to find him and get his powers restored. And of course, nothing is that easy. We get first a tie-in to the King in Black. And we get this familiar character that is now one of Null's baddies. So we get this amazing fight. See, look at just how badass that is. How much just oomph Daniel Warren Johnson's art has. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I love it. I can't show you the end of that fight, but it's a cool double page spread. We get the scuttlebutt ship right there. Oh, man, it's so awesome to see all this stuff. We get ties to, you know, what some of the things that has happened in the past, like his relationship with Sif. This is such a cool breakdown of the ship right here. This is the type of artwork that you're going to see in this book. And as soon as I read the first issue, I thought, man, I can't wait to have this in a gallery edition, because it rightly deserves a gallery edition. The artwork is that damn good. You get a lot of appearances by other characters, not just characters from the pages of Thor, like of course you have Scourge here, but also Pip the Troll and a couple of other appearances by characters, a couple of Easter eggs here and there. The action sequences are so dynamic. It's great to see this amount of just energy into each panel. And sometimes, that's what I do love about Daniel Warren Johnson, is sometimes his panels are huge, right? Like he can do these amazing double page spreads and then give you, on the opposite side, a 15 panel page. That's quite a range there. It's very triumphant in the way the panels flow too. So as far as the extras, I can't spoil any more of this because I want everybody to read it, but this is definitely my pick of the week. Is a very nice surprise because this is an interview conducted by Johnson and interviewing Walter Simonson, the gentleman that created Beta Ray Bill. The book retails for $15.99 and it has 128 pages. Strongly suggest reading this one. This one's a lot of fun, especially if you liked the classic Walter Simonson stuff. And this collects the 5-issue miniseries, and I hope to see more. Wrapping up the classic story of Cindy Moon coming back out of her decade-long sleep is Silk, Out of the Spider-Verse, Volume 3. So this wraps up this original series of Silk in search for her family and dealing with not being around for a decade. So this is Volume 3. There's 2 other previous volumes, and this is the one that I called the complete collection / not labeled a complete collection. Because that's the way it is. It doesn't say anywhere complete collection. But they are just as big as, especially Volume 1 was just as big as a complete collection. Now, the video that I did a couple of weeks ago that had the Silk trade paperback, that takes place after this. So this wraps up a lot of loose ends. This collects Silk, the 2015 series, 9 through 19, the B-side stories, and it has 248 pages, retailing for $34.99. So during Volume 2, we had this crossover with an alternate reality. Cindy Moon was not, let's just say, was not acting like herself, and a lot of people think, especially now at the beginning of this, that she's a villain. So she teams up with Black Cat to go and steal something. She has a team up with her, but is she really undercover, or is she really trying to steal something and sees redeeming qualities in Black Cat? It's a good storyline. She's still working for S.H.I.E.L.D., so Mockingbird is still leading her around. There's a huge fight here with Black Cat. There's also a returning character from her past. There's a mystery character that keeps showing up here and there that doesn't talk for a little while. And of course, this is all, a big journey to find her parents. One of the things that I haven't said about this series that I really enjoy are her sit-down therapy sessions. It's not like it's a unique thing. We've seen that in the pages of X Factor or in TV shows like The Sopranos. But I like the way that this is done, the way that it makes it work. Like through her therapy sessions, you get to find out exactly how she's feeling, and she lets out all these emotions about what exactly is going on in her head, and how she feels betrayed, how she feels alone, how she feels just like the only person out of time during this era of Silk. So this is all written by Robbie Thompson. You have artwork in here from Stacey Lee, Irene Strakowski, and Tana Ford. Those are mainly the artists that work on the book. So in here, you're also going to see the Negative Zone. It's a pretty cool adventure that she takes 2 of her friends on, the people that she works with. And I really like that, especially when you have double page spreads like this. This was a really fun adventure, and I thought this was a fun book and a good way to wrap up the storyline featuring her and coming to terms with her past. And it's not just her parents I'm talking about. On the right hand side, of course I'm censoring the final page here on the left, but on the right hand side is one of the variants here. And then you get, of course, the goodbyes from the creators telling you, how much of an amazing ride it's been, and thank you all for being part of the ride. Again, this is volume 3. Uncanny Omar Talk Pretty One Day 3, volume 3 of Silk Out of the Spider-Verse. Look, Beta Ray Bill was my pick of the week, of course, because I just assume everybody has already read X-Men From the Ashes. This is the newest printing of this story arc. It's not an epic collection, it's not an event, it's not a milestone, it's not a crossover. It is just collecting Uncanny X-Men 168 to 176. And I used to have the big, thick trade paperback version of this because I love this story. The one that came out in like the late 90s or mid 90s. And I want to say that didn't have Uncanny X-Men 176. It ended with 175, which is Paul Smith's final issue and actually wraps up the story of From the Ashes quite nicely. And I think a lot of people consider that 168 to 175 the From the Ashes storyline. So, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know how much this means to me. This is my very first issue of Uncanny X-Men I bought, or I was given to me as a kid. So this particular issue is so important to me. And probably why I think From the Ashes, has a special place in my heart. So, I mentioned Paul Smith earlier. That's who supplies most of the artwork in here. And you have, of course, Chris Claremont writing the story. And it all kicks off with Kitty Pryde told that she is no longer to be an X-Men. It's too dangerous to be an X-Men. She's gonna, what she feels like, being demoted to the New Mutants, which is a new team that was introduced during this time when the X-Men were thought dead by the world and Professor X because they were up in space with the Brood. But anyway, that's a different story. Now, if you're keeping tabs and if you're a completist, has this been collected in Epic Collection? No, it has not. It is found in Volume 3 of the X-Men Omnibus, the Uncanny X-Men Omnibus by Chris Claremont. So if you have that, that's where you'll find this particular story. So this also introduces us to Rogue as part of the ongoing team, as part of the X-Men. Wolverine takes off for a little while to go be in his very first groundbreaking miniseries with Frank Miller. Well, he's not with Frank Miller. Frank Miller was the artist, but he was really with Mariko. So much so that in this, you'll see perhaps a wedding take place. Maybe, maybe not. You have Storm. Oh my gosh, one of the most character-defining moments of Storm when she battles Callisto here for leadership of the Morlocks. And keep in mind, during this time, Storm has no power. So there is this badass scene where Storm, right here, Callisto throws a knife at her and just Storm, without missing a beat, smoothly catches that knife and is ready for battle. And you can find out exactly what happens to Storm. We do have a Walter Simon. I love this POV. Yeah, right there. He did that a lot. Kind of panel. But we do have a Walter Simonson fill-in issue. And, it's Walter Simonson. He doesn't get to fill in. It's Walter Simonson. So, special guest penciler, Walter Simonson. And it's Binary, who's Carol Danvers, confronting Professor X and the X-Men. How dare they let Rogue into the team? The woman that destroyed her life, but that's not really the case. Who really destroyed her life were the writers and editors of Avengers 200. But anyway, Binary, she's going as Binary now because she inherited these powers. She's no longer Miss Marvel because those powers were sucked out of her, and now Rogue has those powers. So this is a really wonderful issue. I love that issue. The confrontation of how dare the X-Men betray her like that. It's a huge fight at first, misunderstandings, and then of course you get the Japan storyline. Where Storm, inspired by Yukio, decides to change up her style some. And while Storm is changing up her style, again being depowered, the X-Men are fighting the Silver Samurai. And one thing I forgot to note, and one very important thing, and I think the reason why this is being reprinted, is 168 also serves as the purpose to introduce a brand new face. Maybe. Maybe not. Because we've seen this face before. But now, this lady's name is Madeline Pryor. So she is introduced. This is, of course, after the Dark Phoenix saga, and spoilers, after Jean Grey dies in the Dark Phoenix saga. So, issue 168, 30 issues later, after Cyclops leaves the team, and 31 issues after, of course, Jean Grey sacrifices herself because that's what you do as a hero if you're going rogue or bad. This character appears called Madeline Pryor, and it all leads into what could be the return of the Dark Phoenix in issue 175, one of my favorite issues. This issue right here really highlights what kind of leader Scott Summers is. Like, I know that Scott, Cyclops, gets a lot of hate. And sometimes that comes from just bad writers not knowing what to do with the character. But when you have a confident writer that knows how to write Cyclops, you get stories like this. This is an amazing story featuring Scott. And I'm not going to talk any more about it, but I just wanted to highlight the amazing artwork here by, of course, Paul Smith. As far as the extras in the back, you do get some covers here from Classic X-Men. This is the trade paperback I used to have. The book retails for $29.99 and has 240 pages. I didn't show any artwork of 176 because you can find out exactly what that is. That's John Romita Jr. actually taking over the book. But the storyline I didn't want to talk about in case you haven't read this before. And this, again, is the covers to Classic X-Men. This one's by Adam Hughes. Actually, they were all Adam Hughes during this time. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely in an excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out the bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they are now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. CGN is currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is valid for U.S. customers only. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these trades. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you are picking up, which ones you've been picking up since the beginning, which ones you're hoping that one day will have a oversized hardcover or an omnibus even. If you have any questions, please leave your questions down below. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to check out our Patreon and Spreadshop. Amazing ways to support the channel if you can do so. And more importantly, everyone, stay healthy, stay safe, and much love.